and I'm chilling with the homies. Prepare your mind and prepare that ass. Papa Nepty is coming on in. At the end of this course, you will be a professor of clapping bitches at your locals. There's more to know, you can always grow down here at the reef with your boy. Okay, let's get on with the video, please. Alright, cool. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nepty. I'm back. And today, you've graduated to the intermediate class. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. In this intermediate class, we're going to be going over the less known interactions, rulings that you get wrong probably constantly at your locals, and somebody's gonna know, and then they're gonna be like, hey, why'd you do this? You'll be like, I've been doing that for like 6 years. Well, I don't want you to be in that awkward ass situation. So if you're planning on playing this deck in any kind of major event or anything like that, and you think you can bring your dog shit ass local rulings in there, you might want to check yourself, because there's a judge around every corner. This class might be long. There is quite a lot to cover. There are multiple sections to it. In this volume 2, we're going to be going over the rest of the deck, followed by common additions. So, you know, the regular stuff you would always generally see in Mermails, at least in this format. We're going to go over some common engines that you might see in a Mermail Atlantean deck. Then we're going to check out some extenders, ones that you could possibly use. I'll go over how they work with the deck, maybe some flaws to them and whatever else. And then we're going to go over some common staples that you will see favorited by the Mermail community, so that's kind of cool. So I hope this video will help you and makes you a stronger duelist. Just by making these videos, I've gotten better at the deck. I've noticed. I just feel more confident in my plays. I used to play turbo vomit water. I used to just kind of spray shit onto the board and hope it makes sense in the end. But now I'm a little bit more methodical in how I use my resources, the lines of play I go down. And every single day, I'm fucking learning, man. Learning all about mermails. But before we continue, you know what time it is. Splash that like button. Then you can froggy paddle on over to that buoy bell and pop that motherfucker. That bell will notify you whenever I put out my brand new high quality mermail content for your face. And hit the subscribe, join the reef. We got a growing community, and I make videos just because I like to talk about mermails. It's my favorite deck of all time, and I'm glad you have some kind of interest in it too. I find it super hard to believe that you won't learn something from this video. So let's dive right in, shall we? Yeah. Alright, welcome. This is the intermediate class of Mermails. Glad you're here. This is for the new players, as well as the players who think they're hot shit, but probably cheat at their locals all the time because they don't know. This is the base of the deck. This is the Mermail / Atlantean cards that you most likely will always see, with the exception of the current format not very much favoring the marksman card, but some people still run it. Yes, this is the main group of 8 cards. You have 4 Atlanteans and 4 Mermails. You already know about Nepty. We went over him in the basics course. He sends an Atlantean monster from the deck to the grave at cost in order to search an Atlantean monster and add it to the hand. His other effect, if he's sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster effect, special summon one of the Atlantean monsters in the grave to the field. So that's his whole shtick. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of different interactions you can do with that. You can only use his effect once per turn, which is something I forget all the time. It's not activate, it's use, so only one attempt. If they shut it down, they shut it down. And it comes up all the time. Atlantean Dragoons. Now, you already know he gets sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect, and then you can search out any sea serpent. It is the strongest search card that we have in Mermail Atlanteans. His other effect, you can have all your level 3 or lower sea serpent monsters attack directly. That never comes up, but sometimes it works in tandem with the next card. Which is Marksman. Marksman actually has an effect that works with that effect, where if he attacks and does damage to your opponent's life points, he can summon out a level 4 or lower Atlantean monster.
from your deck. So that's another way to get to Neptybus if you need it. But overall, he's the card you send to the grave to activate a water monster's effect, and then you can pop a face down card. On to infantry. This card is a double summon on legs for sea serpent monsters that are level 4 or lower. This is one effect that I used to never use. I never thought about it, but then we got into links, and this actually plays a huge part of most of your combos. If this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect, you can target a face-up card on the field and destroy it. So that's very good. But the secondary effect is the one that I'm talking about here. There is a lot of cool plays you can do with this, and I will be going over a lot of them in the advanced class. That video is going to be really sick, and a lot of you people who think you know the deck all the way through and through, you're going to learn a lot, believe me, I promise. But yeah, so you can summon this card first, follow it up with your Neptybus, or a Diva, or whatever it is, and if those cards get negated, then you could just link off into an Abyss Lacia or whatever else. This is like a good failsafe. Specifically for the Diva, I would say, more than anything else, because Neptybus, you could just summon him and then just send for cost and still get a search out at least, but this card right here saves the Diva. It really does. A lot of times you'll just bring out Diva, then they'll just ash it, and then you have a Diva there sitting with 200 attacks. Pretty miserable. But if you bring out your infantry, you just link off into, I don't know, Coral Anemone. You can bring out Abyss Lacia and set yourself up for your next plays. And that effect really does come into play. Next, we have Megalo, the biggest beater in the whole deck. The first of the Mermails I'm going to mention here. Of course, takes 2 water monsters in your hand of any type, kind, or whatever. Just as long as it's water monster, you can discard it and then special summon this card to the field. Now, the 2 monsters are, again, cost. So they can negate the summon of Megalo, but the cards that Megalo sends to the grave can still activate their effects if they have any. So that's pretty cool. And again, as soon as he's summoned, he can then search out an Abyss spell or trap, and there are 3 of each. Most people just use Mizuchi, like I said in the basics course, and then he's your OTK machine. His other effect is he can send a face-up attack position water monster from the field to the grave, and then he can attack twice, which is pretty good. That's 6,400 damage if you're equipped with a Mizuchi. So, all right, on to Teus, the easiest level 7 to bring out. Also, one of the best cards to pair up with your Dragoons. But Teus is amazing. He has pretty shitty stats, not gonna lie. He's got a little bit of a thick booty there, 2,400, not bad, not bad. His main thing is that he can send a water monster to the grave as cost, again, and then he can add a level 4 or lower Mermail monster to your hand. You'll be either searching Gund or Pike. Speaking of Pike, what's up, buddy? Okay, so this card, I used to not like this card until I learned a bunch of combos that you can do with it. And now I love this card. Oh man, there was times where I didn't even run this card, but level 4 water, that's always good, generally speaking. When this card is normal summoned, you can send 1 water monster to the graveyard and add a level 3 water monster from your deck to your hand. So that's any level 3. That's not just in the archetype or whatever. That is, you can bring anything. You can bring a Minstrel, Spooky Dogwoods, which is a hand trap if you want to run that. And there are a lot of combos with goons that I'm going to be showing you in the advanced class that you'll be surprised by what you can do with it. And then we have our beautiful clownfish, Gund. I love this card so much. Gund is the last of the Mermails that we generally run. I'm saying generally here. A lot of people can throw in whatever else they want, but I'm just saying the majority of Mermail Atlantean decks usually only run these 4 Mermail cards. If she is discarded, not sent, keep that in mind. If she is discarded to the grave, you can special summon 1 Mermail monster from your graveyard. That is very cool, especially in tandem with a Megalo or a Teus. If you send it, then they negate the effect and pop one of your cards that's discarded her, well, then she can go ahead and revive it. So that will save a lot of your plays too, by the way. These are the essentials, I would say. Less so the marksman nowadays, like I said before, but still, a lot of people still run it, so. And now we will go on to the main staples that you will see in almost every Mermail deck, unless they're weird. You have your Deep Sea Diva. She is a 3 of in the deck. No buts about it. She is the other way to get to Neptybus. She enables a lot of combos. A lot more than you think, believe me. She can summon out any level 3 or lower sea serpent monsters. She can summon out an infantry, and then the infantry can then use its effect, allowing you to normal summon an extra sea serpent monster. So then you get 3 bodies on board, which is pretty cool. But there's some crazy plays you can do with it, and you're gonna love it. You can also special summon a minstrel out. Now, this lets me get into Minstrel here. Minstrel is one of the best cards in Mermails, hands down. You can discard this card and one other water monster in your hand, and that allows you to look at your opponent's hand and banish 1 card until the end of the turn. That's super stupid strong versus like hand traps. If you open this shit, it protects your plays. It really does. You can hit Nibiru's, Ash, Imperms, everything. It's super good. And then activate the effect of the water monster that you discarded, like Gund, Infantry, Marksman, whatever it may be. If she is special summoned, she can mill 3 cards from the top of your deck. And if in those cards there happen to be infantries, dragoons, Neptybus, anything that activates in the graveyard from a water monster effect, then boom, you can just activate their effects and it just goes nuts. But on top of that, she can allow you to target 1 level 4 lower water monster and throw it back in your deck. This is a way for you to recycle your dragoons. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. It keeps the deck going. Also, she is a tuner, so a lot of stuff comes with this card. But definitely use her special summoned effect. You will not be able to activate this effect if she is special summoned by Halqifibrax because he negates their effects. So keep that in mind as well. Fishborg Launcher, the glow-up bulb for the deck. This card is very important for our combos and extension and everything else, especially our link plays. More so, in my opinion, I use it more for link play than I use for synchroing. So you can link it off and then summon it back to the field, link it off again. As long as every monster in your grave is water, you got to keep that in mind. If you use hand traps, this card is less potent, but still, very, very strong card. Everybody should run one of these. I only run one. I don't, if it gets banished, well, it did its job. It let me get 2 summons, so. Moulin Glacia. This is, my opinion, the best boss monster of the deck, and quite a few people think the same thing. It's not hard to get 5 waters in grave. It allows you to special summon it to the field and then rip 2 random cards from your opponent's hand. That is absurd and unheard of these days. Ripping 2 cards hasn't been done since Delinquent Duo. So yeah, this is a huge win con. I'm not gonna lie. Like a lot of people, when I strip their 2 cards, they scoop half the time. They're just because you'll hit the most powerful shit in their hand. Super polys and whatever else. It's just a bananas card. It really is. Plus he's 2800. Now, if he is removed from the field in any way, shape, or form, you will lose your next battle phase. And I must say that, not the battle phase of the turn he's gone. Okay, some people get this confused, but it's kind of weird that they get it confused because if you just read it, it literally says the battle phase of your next turn. So if your opponent tries to pull some slippery shit where they say, you can't attack, you just linked him away. It's the next turn, not the one you're on. So be ballsy. Throw that shit away and swing in for game. Lapis Dragon. So if you get this on your first 5 cards in your hand, you can't activate its effect. That's not the way it works. But if you search it, or if you just straight up draw it on your second turn, you can activate its effect. And it is a fantastic card. This is one of the best cards to go into Halqifibrax. You can send a Dragoons off of Neptybus, and from that Dragoons, you can search this card. This card goes to your hand, and then you can special summon it to the field. And then link off for Halqifibrax because it's a tuner. So, very, very good card. Also, I must say this. Look at the attack on this card. It has 0 attack, which means you can special summon it with Coral Anemone, and then use Coral Anemone and this card, or some other card on your field, and go into Halqifibrax. So, very, very cool niche card. Plus, if you just want to special summon it in defense position, just to get a big, thick booty on board so they can't swing in for game, that also helps too. So, yeah, these are the main staples. These are the 5 cards I would recommend that you always play in your deck. Alright, now we're on to the most common engines that you will see. Some of them are outdated, but for the most part, yeah, these are the engines that you will see. Most prominently, you're going to see frogs. They just do the most for the deck. I run them. A lot of people do run them. Some people hate running them, which I understand. But still, if you get into like the more technical play of Mermail Atlanteans, this combination is very crucial for the most advanced play. I'm just telling you that right now. So, but you do want to have some kind of engine in your deck. The frog engine allows you to get to your totally awesomes. There's a lot of cool shenanigery that you can do with your coral anemone and stuff like that, but we'll be going over that in the advanced class. But I will say this, when you activate these effects, keep in mind this is a discard effect. So it will trigger Gund, but it will not trigger Atlanteans. I must tell you that. Swap Frog, his discard effect is part of the effect. It's not the cost of the effect. So yes, if you've been doing that in your locals, activating, sending marksman, popping back row, stuff like that, you've been doing it wrong. That is not allowed. You've been breaking rules. Bad little fishy. The next effect is cost. You can bounce Swap Frog back to your hand and then special summon a frog monster that's not Swap Frog. We don't run anything else, so this is a great way to just get it back to your hand if its effects are negated. So keep that in mind. That effect works with any monster on your side of the field. So you can bounce back a diva if you have a diva on board. It allows for so much recursion and grind. The main effect used by Swap Frog is to send Ronin Totem to the graveyard, because then you can banish Swap Frog from your grave and then resummon your Ronin Totem to the field, and it just lets you go into link play after link play after link play. This is the strongest engine by far for the Mermail deck, and yeah, I recommend playing this over any of the other ones. But on to the other ones anyway. The Gen X Undyne. Okay, so Undyne was an old school way. Before we had Neptybus, you would use this because it has a very cool effect. If it's normal summoned, you can send one water monster from your deck, and then you can add a Gen X controller to your hand from your deck. So this is kind of a broader brush, if you will. Some people still run it just because it's just any water monster. Send any kind of like floodgate water monster and then special summon that water monster. You can send a barrier statue of the torrent and then link this off with something else. Go into coral anemone and then special summon the torrent statue. So I mean, it's kind of cool, kind of weird. Some people play it. I don't, but yeah, a lot of times you I feel like you draw the Gen X controller more than you draw your Undyne, but he is a tuner, so keep that in mind. He's a level 3 tuner. You know, whatever. Some people can choose to use this, but not me. Next up, we got the Nimble engine. Now, you discard your Angler, and then you special summon 2 Nimble monsters from your deck that are not Angler. That's the shitty part about it. You could also run 3 of the Nimble Beavers, but it's a beast. That's not something we really want to see, but it is a level 2 water monster, so I don't know. So yeah, you can play around with that. They let you get into some cool link shenanigery. So yeah, that's the engines you can throw in there. There's a few other engines like the Ice Jade and stuff like that, but I don't know enough about them to put them on this list. But yeah, there's some other stuff you can do. Alright, now we're on to the common extender cards. These are cards you can use to go into XC plays, just have another body on board for linking off, whatever you may want to do here. The most commonly used now, I would say, is probably Shatana, but some people still play Aqua Spirit. Aqua Spirit, a level 4 monster. You can banish a water monster from your graveyard, special summon it. Pretty cool. She also has a secondary effect. Once per turn during the standby phase, you can change the battle position of a face-up monster on the field, and then it can't change its attack position for the rest of the turn. So it's a very good defensive card too, if you just want to leave it on the field. But I don't know, I just link the shit off really, or go into an XC. Shatana, this card is a piece of shit if you get it later on in the duel when you have stuff on the field, but if you get it at the beginning of the duel, you can special summon it for free. Pretty cool. Another card on board. Nothing wrong with that. This probably is the most played nowadays. This card is incredibly good combined with the card Small World. Since it's a worm, you can just You take anything from your hand and then search this card in your deck, and then from there go into any other card. Like, it's just a bananas connection. Definitely should run Shadana if you use Small World. Then you have Silent Sea Nettle. Now this card is super good for putting cards back into your deck. Lets you target 3 monsters in your graveyard and then put them back in the deck. That is ridiculous, but you have to banish this card, obviously. A level 4 water, stats suck, whatever else, all these stats suck, to be honest with you. Aquasphere's pretty beefy for a level 4, but yeah, it also locks you into water, so that's why I don't run it. Silent Angler, it has to be your last card special summoned from your hand, because it will lock you out of special summoning cards in your hand, so keep that in mind. But it will allow you to special summon itself if you have a water monster on the field, so not bad. There are more extender cards that special summon themselves, but these are the most notable, to be honest with you. Onto the spell cards that you will most likely see. If I'm missing some, just go ahead and slap them down in the comments section. Somehow it slipped my mind, I don't know how, but either way. You will generally, 99% of the time, you're going to find 1-for-1 in decks. If they run Small World, then sometimes I could see people not playing it, but I don't know. I just see it as another Neptybus or another Fishborg if you need it. It's just a good card. Yeah, 1-for-1 is very, very good. I've never not had this in my deck, not gonna lie. Monster Reborn. This card is played a lot, just because it gets you access to both graveyards. It's good for link climbs. You can use it for synchros sometimes. It's a very, very good card. It's always been a very strong card, especially in combo decks where we need more and more bodies on board. It's really, really good. And if somebody pops something on the field that you need on the field, then you just bring it back. So yeah, Monster Reborn, underplayed in my opinion, but yeah, I don't personally play it, but it is very, very good for the Mermail Atlantean deck. Called by the Grave, just because we're a combo deck and hand traps exist in general. We are very susceptible to being hand trapped. Now, Mizuchi. All right, Mizuchi is one of many of the Abyss scale cards, but this is the one we play this format, as well as have been playing for a little bit now. It hasn't always been good, but now it is pretty remarkable. You have cards like a Dark Ruler No More that can't have cards activate. Same thing with Super Poly. This card is really good. It always stumps your opponent too, because they'll activate a card and say, well, you can't activate anything in response. And then you just read the card. It activates at the resolution, not the activation. So this, in combination with like a Toad, you can activate Minstrel, see their hand, know what they have, and then use Toad to negate, their shit spells, and then save the Mizuchi for like a Super Poly or Dark Ruler. So very good. They get stumped by it every time. You have to go through it. Yes, it's a resolution. So this card is one of the strongest cards in the entire deck. I just wish they would up the rarity, man. Give me like a super or an ultra or something like that. I would love that. Right now the card's sitting at poverty level. Looks like crap, but yeah. On to the next card, Deep Sea Aria. This card is one of the new Deep Sea cards that came out last year or whatever it was. It is essential in my mind because this card allows you to get to any level 4 or lower Sea Serpent. So most people will be like, oh, well, it's got Diva on the artwork. That's who I'm getting. You can use it for Diva. It is very strong to use it for Diva, but then again, you could use it for straight up Neptybus, then ditch Neptybus, resummon out goons or whatever else. You can also use it for getting an infantry to hand that you can use Abyss Lacia to pop shit on their turn. There's a lot you can do with this card. It is not just the one thing, but it also is grave manipulation for Moonling Glacia. Think about that. You can banish one water monster. You get to add your card, but also summon out Moonling Glacia if you're one too many. It's a very strong card. I recommend using this card over a lot of these spell cards, to be honest with you. Next up, we have the Moray of Greed. Moray of Greed is one of my favorite cards. It is personally my favorite hand fixer / spell card out of everything. This card's great. Let's say you draw like a Lapis and Fishborg. Can't do much with that. You just use this card, send those cards back to the deck, and then draw 3 cards. That's ridiculous. You're replacing 3 cards out of your hand with better cards. Also thinning the deck, which is quite nice. So Yeah, Buoy of Greed has saved me so many times in games. It's not even funny. I love it. Alright, Pot of Avarice, a card I'm guilty of not playing enough of. There's plenty to say about this card. It is a resource recycler. You can put your main cards back in your deck. You put extra deck monsters back in the extra deck. You get to draw 2 cards, which is one of the main features of this card. You can draw itself. It is not a once per turn, so sometimes you could draw it again. Turn 1 with Mermails, you can put potentially between 10 and 14 monsters in the graveyard. This card is bonkers. More people should be playing it, including me, but I don't know. I like to keep my spell count so low. Like, not gonna lie, so low. I always say this card wrong. I say triple tactics talent. That's a tongue twister. But this card is very good, especially because of all the hand traps. It works going first or second. I much prefer running this when I go second because I like to steal monsters on my opponent's side of the field most times. If your opponent activates a monster effect during the main phase of your turn, you can activate one of the 3 effects, which is draw 2 cards, take control of 1 monster your opponent controls until the end phase. That is non-targeting, just gonna say. Look at your opponent's hand, choose 1 card, and shuffle it into the deck. So there's 3 really, really strong effects. This card needs to be ran more, but yeah, with a water combo deck where you need a lot of water monsters, you have such a small amount of space for spell and trap cards. It gets a little bit tight, but this card is really, really good. Everybody was getting so hype over Change of Hearts, and I'm sitting over here like, triple tactics talent exists. Why do you like that so much? But, you know, whatever. Next up, Small World. Small World is a very strong card. I just put a video out on Small World and how to use it in Mermails, so definitely go check that out if you can. It's kind of a complicated effect to explain here, but I will explain it in the most basic terms. Take a monster in your hand, then choose a monster in your deck that has only one thing in common between attack, defense, type, attribute, and level. But only one thing in common, not any one of those things in common, just one of those in common. And then banish the card that you had in your hand face down. And then you're gonna take another card from your deck that has one thing in common with the card you just chose. And then banish the card you chose before from your deck face down. And then add the card you just picked out to the hand. It's complicated, just go watch my other video. I'm not gonna go into too much on that, but it allows you to essentially get access to any monster in your deck, essentially. You can add hand traps, you can add kaijus, you can add any Atlantean monster, I love this card so very much. But yeah, those are the notable spell cards that I'm going to mention here. All right, the most common traps I can think of that are not specific to just the side deck is Infinite Impermanence. Now, this card, you already know what this does. So if your opponent gets turn 1, you can activate it from your hand and negate a monster effect. You can negate all of its effects until the end of the turn, which is pretty strong. If you set this during turn 1 and you activate on your opponent's turn, then you can negate the effects of spell and trap cards in the zone that it is in. And then you have Evenly Matched, which I usually run in my side deck, but still it's worth some people running in their main deck. After the damage step, if you have nothing on your side of the field, you can activate this from your hand, and you can make your opponent banish everything on their side of the field until it equals the amount of controlled cards that you have. So if you're placing this on the field, it counts. Don't get that wrong. People think, oh, I'm just going to activate it from my hand and it never hits the field. It does hit the field. It counts. So they get to keep 1 card on their side of the field but banish everything else. If this is already set, even if you control cards, you can activate it on your side. But the cool thing is, if you activate this from the hand and they control a token, your opponent has to banish everything else on their side of the field because you cannot banish a token. So very, very good card. I think it's a staple in the Mermail deck. It really does win you games a lot of the time. So yeah, those are the traps. Alright, if you've made it this far in the video, congratulations. Your water brain has grown about a ½ inch in girth. In the next video, it's going to be the Mermail Atlantean Guide Volume 3 Advanced. Even that name sounds prestigious. I did a lot of studying for that.
Nepty promise.
You're going to be learning things that you never thought about when you're playing Mermails. A lot of crazy interactions that you're like, what the fuck, man? What kind of crap is that? Why have I not taken advantage of this over the last 4 years? What is this dog shit? So, keep your eyes peeled. There's different levels to the pilots of this deck. There's a lot on the bottom. And through this series, hopefully you won't be, so that's pretty good. I know you think you're some hot shit, but there's always someone a little toastier. If you know what I'm saying? In the wise words of Bruce Lee, be like water. Sorry, that was a horrible impression, but you get the point. And before we head out, please splash that like button. Then you can dive on over to that buoy bell and donkey punch a motherfucker. That bell will let you know when I release my new high-quality Mermail content, just for you. Also, hit the subscribe. I make videos all about mermails and literally nothing else. So if you like mermails, this is the community to be a part of. Until next time, boys. Bye.